How can you plan for a workforce that is tiring and ageing?
Incorporate some age-based attrition information into my planning. Well, here I am in my planning environment. I'm looking at my intensive care unit, but clearly I could be looking above that into another area. So it may be that intensive care reports up into a specific hospital area, or even up into a trust, or into local, or even international level. But we're just going to stick with the intensive care unit in this specific hospital at the moment. What I can see is my current staffing information. So I can see that I have 3.1 FTEs for clinical technician. I've got around 16 FTEs for my high HC nursing, my nursing directors, etc. So that's my current position. And that's actually coming from employee information, which I may have extracted from either my HR system or could have been loaded from a spreadsheet. And the critical information really here is around, first of all, the full-time equivalency and the age of the staff member. I don't need to know a great deal of detail in order to do this, really just, who is in which job type. Their age clearly is very important when we're doing age-based attrition, and then their contribution to the full-time equivalency. If I have access to some average compensation information, I can start to bring that in. So what I can see is that I've got a range of salaries spread over time, and I can say, actually, I would like to action a 1% increase. What would be the effect of that? I would just use my spread information, and I can say I want to make a 1% increase spread over a series of time, and percentage on percentage increase. Close that out. So how does that then impact into my supply side? Because it's in the supply side that we want to deal with our attrition. So if I look at my supply information, first of all, I can see again what my current supply situation is. I'm again looking in my intensive care unit, but it could be a number of other units. I'm currently looking at 2020, but I could look into other years. I can have multiple versions of this. So I can have a planning version, a best case to worst case. So I have my view of what my people are in the same kind of way as we had before. But what I'm going to look at is what my attrition drivers are. And in this case, my principal attrition driver is attrition by age. So clearly there are two factors that affect this. First of all, retirement age for staff, and then looking at whether there is a trend in different turnover rates for different age bands. So obviously, from the point of view from this demonstration, I can say what the retirement age is that I have in for my staff. Should our pensions people want to change that information, we can come in and make a future dated change or plan on what a future dated change there might be. And clearly these become relatively hard stops, as we'll see in a moment. If I look at my attrition by age band, I can then start to look at how I'm likely to be turning staff over depending on their age. So clearly once I get above the retirement age, I've got 100% attrition. And it may be that I predict a lower level of attrition for people in my middle age band, and then potentially a different attrition rate for my millennial staff. So I want to take account of the fact that, first of all, potentially millennials may turn over more rapidly. People in their middle age will generally stick to a lower attrition rate, and we reach a hard stop at retirement age. So that gives me then information about what my supply full-time equivalency is going to look like in the future, because I know who's going to retire based on their age. I know, or I can predict, what their chance of attrition is based on their age as well. So for example, if I look in my nurse columns here, I can see first of all that my my predicted retirements, I've only really got one coming up into 24. My turnover, just by general turnover, is predicted there, and I can then see what my total supply looks like. So over time, if I do no recruiting, I move from my 15.55 full-time equivalency down to 13, 12, 11, 10, and obviously I would decay that out over time. That will clearly also reflect in specific headcount, so I can start to say, well, actually, who is going to definitely retire, and I have my zeros against those people as we move forward, and then I can see which people have a higher predicted attrition rate from that. If I have my compensation information, that also then allows me to start to predict what my total compensation for example, my nurses are. And this is typically where our finance people seem to be very happy, because this makes it appear that our salary bill for our nurses is going to fall over time. But clearly, in spite of the fact that I may have put in a salary rise, the reason that this is falling is because I'm losing staff. So In general, I can very quickly work out how my supply is going to decay over time. If we take that forward and look at what the long-term effect of that might be, in my gap analysis, I have a very clear blue line here showing a decay across, again, my intensive care unit, that I'm going to fall from around 20 staff down to around a dozen or so in the next 2 or 3 years through these various age-based attrition drivers.
Start planning tomorrow's workforce today and see results.